Bosnia qualifying for the 2026 World Cup is essentially the sporting equivalent of a phoenix rising from a pile of discarded poker chips and purely technical defensive masterclasses. We are talking about a nation that has only made it to the big dance once before, back in 2014, and their journey back has been anything but linear. Jason, the streets of Sarajevo were literally flooded with 100,000 people the night they punched their ticket this time around. It is more than just a game for them. It is a full-blown national identity crisis solved by 22 guys in blue and yellow kits.
It is spectacular drama, Noah. Think about the path they took to get here. They were stuck in this cycle of dysfunction, firing 3 managers in 15 months during the Euro 2024 qualifiers. Then they hire Sergei Barbares in 2024. This guy's a cult legend, a former captain who hadn't coached a single game in the 16 years since he retired. He was literally spending his time playing professional poker on the European circuit. He goes from calculating pot odds in Prague to managing the national team through a chaotic playoff run where they knocked out Wales and then stunned the 4-time champions Italy in a penalty shootout. You cannot write a script this absurd.
The poker analogy is perfect because Barbares basically went all in on emotion. He actually said that the first 3 seconds of the national anthem at the World Cup would belong entirely to him. And that win over Italy in Zenica was peak Bosnian football. You have Esmir Bayraktarovic, this 21-year-old kid who was born and raised in Wisconsin, played for the New England Revolution, and even suited up for the U.S. national team once. He switches allegiances, ends up in Zenica, and stays cool enough to slot home the decisive penalty past Donnarumma. The imagery of him holding his shirt up in that absolute cauldron of a stadium is already etched into the national psyche.
That is the beautiful thing about the Bosnian team. It is this incredible tapestry of the diaspora. You have kids from Appleton, Wisconsin, playing alongside the ageless Edin Džeko, who is somehow still the captain and leading scorer at 40 years old. The man is a living monument. He has been the reference point for an entire generation since he was winning titles at Manchester City. For the millions of Bosnians living in Germany, Austria, and the U.S., this team is the one thing that actually tethers them back to the homeland. In places like St. Louis, which houses nearly 70,000 Bosnians, the World Cup isn't a tournament. It is a family reunion with very high stakes.
And the fan culture is just as intense as the play on the pitch. You cannot talk about Bosnian soccer without the BHF Fanaticos. They are the ultra group that essentially functions as the team's shadow government. They have thousands of members across Scandinavia and Europe who pay regular dues just to follow the team everywhere. Their motto is basically, "The sky will burn above us." And they mean it. They once caused an hour-long delay in a match against Norway by throwing so many flares on the pitch they were basically trying to smoke out the corruption in their own football federation. It is a level of passion that borders on the irrational.
Irrational is the right word. Remember the story from 2014 when a group of fans tried to drive to the qualifying match in Lithuania but accidentally ended up in Latvia? They spent the whole night wandering around Riga wondering why the stadium was so quiet. That is the Bosnian spirit in a nutshell. Absolute, unbridled commitment, even if the GPS is set to the wrong country. But when they do find the right stadium, the atmosphere is unmatched. Because the national anthem officially has no lyrics, the fans sing the words to the old anthem, Jedna si jedina, which translates to, "You are the one and only." It is hauntingly beautiful when 30,000 people do that in unison.
It hits differently because of what that unity represents. In a country that is still deeply divided by the scars of the 1990s, the national team is often the only multi-ethnic institution that actually works. You have Bosniaks, Serbs, and Croats all passing the ball to each other. As one Czech manager once put it, if the politicians had their way, you would only be allowed to pass to someone of your own ethnicity. But on the pitch, a pass does not discriminate. When Džeko,
an ethnic Bosniak, assists a goal for a teammate of Serbian or Croatian heritage, it sends a message of reconciliation that 1,000 political summits couldn't achieve.
Though we should be honest, that unity is often fragile. There are still plenty of people in the Republika Srpska or the Croat-dominated areas who'd rather cheer for Serbia or Croatia. The football team is a symbol of what the country could be, rather than what it always is on a Tuesday morning. But for those 90 minutes, especially during a World Cup, that tension is usually drowned out by the smell of čepapi and the sound of sevdalinka music. The heritage is so deeply baked into the game. You visit a Bosnian household during a match, and you are getting fed 3 courses of burek and strong coffee before the first whistle even blows.
The ethics of the culture are rooted in that hospitality, that ciela where everyone gathers to talk and share. They have endured decades of being the underdog, the impoverished state, the dark horse that never quite makes it. To see them qualify for the 2026 tournament by taking down a giant like Italy is a massive cultural reset. It is a reminder that even after the most brutal history, a small nation of 3 million can still force the rest of the world to pay attention. They are heading into a group with Canada, Qatar, and Switzerland, and honestly, they are going to be the most uncomfortable team in that bracket to play against because they're playing for something way bigger than a trophy.
They have that fearless attitude, especially with the new crop of talent like Krim Alajbegovic. He's 18, playing for Bayer Leverkusen, and he stepped up to take penalties in both playoff shootouts with zero hesitation. Between the veteran leadership of Džeko and the sheer audacity of the kids, Bosnia is bringing a flavor to this World Cup that is equal parts grit and pure technical genius. It is the story of a diaspora coming home and a country finding itself on the grass.
It is going to be a wild summer for anyone who appreciates the beautiful game and a good comeback story. If you found this dive into Bosnian football culture as fascinating as we did, pass this episode along to someone who needs a reminder that the world's most popular sport is still capable of pulling off some pretty incredible miracles.